treaty?
You can put it in the chat if you want.
Okay, now we will see whether I'm capable of doing that. I doubt it.
Go back to that same menu and there's one icon that says chat. Click on there.
Okay.
And you can put information there.
Okay.
Okay.
Which, by the way, sorry, I didn't say welcome to Melida. David, thanks for joining. As you can see, we're having here some issues, but that's okay. I think we'll make it.
Yes, hi.
Así aquí estoy.
No puedo abrir la presentación de Saúl. ¿Alguien puede? Elia, ¿tú pudiste abrir la presentación de Saúl?
Alguien que me ayude a buscar a Víctor en el...
¿En el waiting room?
Ajá.
¿Está en el waiting room?
Puedes repetir la búsqueda e incluir los resultados omitidos. Yo creo que lo cliqué, ¿verdad?
Sí, sí, por favor.
Chicos,
No lo veo.
acá ando.
Saúl, ¿ya volviste?
Sí, pero sigo sin.
Okay, I've just tried to do that. I don't know if that's done. I've sent to Samuel the file.
Jesus, Jesus, are you able to access the PowerPoint?
It's not a PowerPoint, it's just text.
No, I know. I'm talking to Jesús. Jesús.
¿Me escuchas, Rosario?
Sí, yo te escucho. ¿Vas a poder compartir?
Tal vez sí, pero tal vez no grabar porque estoy usando la laptop conectada a la red de mi celular porque se fue la luz en la casa.
Ok. Jesús.
Tal vez para la presentación sí pueda alcanzar a presentarlos, pero para grabar.
What I may do is I may just send Samuel an email with this text.
Yes, probably. Jesus, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm looking for.
Es que no puedo abrir la presentación, Jesús. Me dice que Saúl me dice que es muy pesada. No la puedo abrir.
Si quieres la puedo reproducir yo mientras se presenta, no creo que haya problema.
Ok, porque eso es lo que me tiene aquí un poco y no veo a Víctor. ¿Sabes dónde está Víctor?
Samuel, I've sent you the text.
Estaba en el drive, ¿verdad?
Ok.
Rosario.
Sam, no te escucho.
Sí.
¿Qué pasó, Sam? Es que estás en el canal de español, se me hace.
No, estoy en el de inglés. Welcome everyone. I just wanted to, because we are at 2:03 and I want to bring everyone in. Well, Rosario will start with the program a little bit, and we are still making sure that all our guests are in the room. So In the meantime, I will just let Rosario introduce everyone. We're still trying to bring one of the guests, so just give us a second.
Okay, let's, gracias.
Ah,
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know how many people are we today. We're 40 already. So, Happy New Year. And we all hoping for a Happy New Year today and every day since 2021 arrived. So I hope you're all healthy, whatever you are. We are just sharing right now the video that we sent before the break, before the Christmas break, that we sent to all of you, all the members of the forum, just to share it with you right now. So today is our first coffee break of the year. We're pretty excited. Regardless of the challenges, we're still here. There's no other option but to keep moving forward. That's the only reason that we're still here, and because we care about water, and because we care about the border. So welcome to the first coffee break of the year. The Rio Conchos, we are exploring the Rio Conchos life and binational collaboration. We have our speakers for today. We are still waiting for Victor Solis, I believe. He's having some technical difficulties that we can get rid of. But anyway, let's start. I just want to give you an overview of the instructions again. This is an event that has English and Spanish translation, so please make sure that you go down to your screen on the menu and select the language of your preference, either English or Spanish. And then after you select your language, please make sure you click on mute original audio. That will make you, that way you don't hear both languages at the same time. So please do that as we start the program. And later on, let's move to our program today. Saul, if you don't mind moving. So as I was telling today, we're talking about the Rio Conchos, what it means to the border, what has meant, especially last year, to the border, and what it will be mean. What can we expect in the future? Why do we have to care about this tributary, the most important tributary from the lower part of the Rio Grande? And we're going to explore that. We don't know if we're going to make it through the hour and a half that we have planned, but because it's a long history, it covers everything that you can imagine in terms of science and social science, physical science, policy, institutional elements, etc. So our panelists today, well, I'm going to start first from myself. I haven't introduced myself. So I'm Rosario Sanchez. I'm the director of the Permanent Forum Binational Waters. And I'm not going to tell what I did or who I am. I think that's written there. And then my co-host and assistant director of the Permanent Forum, Samuel Sandoval, who will take the lead of the discussion today. He is responsible for the Water Management and Policy Research Program at the University of California, Agriculture and Natural Resources Division. He works on strategies to improve the water management for anthropogenic and environmental requirements by developing reservoir reoperation policies to improve the human and environmental water requirements. We both will be moderating the session today, and I'm going to go ahead and start by introducing our guests. Hopefully, Victor is able to connect soon. Our first speaker or guest today is David Eaton. He's a senior research scientist and professor of the Texas Law BJ School at the University of Texas. He received his PhD in environmental engineering and geography from Johns Hopkins University. He teaches courses on systems analysis, environmental and energy policy, and nonprofit management at the School of Public Affairs. He has lectured in 20 countries and conducted field research in 15 nations. Eaton's current research concerns U.S.-Mexico environmental cooperation, new methods for evaluation of air pollution emissions, joint management by Palestinians and Israelis of shared groundwater, and water conservation in Texas. Our next speaker is Dr. Melida Gutierrez. She's a senior research scientist and professor of Missouri State University. She obtained her PhD in geohydrology from the University of Texas at El Paso, 1992. Since then, she has been teaching courses in water resources, geochemistry, and contaminant hydrology at Missouri State University in the Department of Geography, Geology, and Planning. Her research interests are water quality, contaminated sediments, and water-rock interaction. As part of her research, she investigates the water quality in the Rio Conchos and the geochemistry of aquifers in northern Mexico and their sustainability. She collaborates with Mexican colleagues from the University of Chihuahua and CMAP in Durango. And I understand, Melida, you are from Chihuahua originally,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Mhm.
So that's important, very important, makes a difference. And our third panelist that hopefully he's already connected, Victor Ortiz-Franco, Professor Emeritus of the Universidad Autonoma de Chihuahua. Victor did his bachelor's in ecology at the Autonomous University of Chihuahua and completed studies in sustainable development. He's a board member of the Sustainable Development Professional course from 2003 to 2006. In the same period, he was an advisor of the Basin Council of the Rio Bravo, Rio Grande. Victor is co-author of several books, including Agua Asolada, Rio Conchos, Causa de Vida, and currently he's the president of the Rio Conchos Conservation Foundation. So hopefully we can get him online or by phone, Samuel, if that's an option. He can call in. And with that, I'm going to give the floor to Samuel. If you want to take it from here, the floor is all yours. And please go ahead. Please just remember that this is a conversation, and the more we are spontaneous and the more we talk about things as if it was really a coffee break. I hope you have your coffee next to you. The more interesting this is, and the more I see Randy has his coffee, the more interesting the discussion is. So go ahead and.
Well, you asked us to have, you have 3 questions for us. Shall Melinda and I answer your question number 1, and then go on to question 2, and then question 3? Okay,
let me take over because I know Sam is helping Victor to get online. So it's 4:11. So let's start with the questions. Question 1. And we can start with Melida, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This is the first question, so you can think about this. Can you share with us your personal experience with the Rio Conchos? What the Rio Conchos means to you? Why do you work in this river? And the work that you have done, and what work have you done in this river since you started? And Melida, I'm going to give the floor to you if you want to start.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. And I'm glad to see a big audience.
Melida, you're muted.
No, I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So my connection to the Rio Conchos is that I grew up in Delicias. I'm originally from that region. And I recall since I was little going to the river for a picnic, and there was a lot of life. There was little turtles and fireflies and fish, multiple types of fish, and clear water and lots of vegetation. And then I went to school in Monterrey, and then I went to do my master's in Germany. And when I came back, I noticed that the quality had declined on the river, and it was very polluted. So my master's was in environmental science. So I wanted to do something about it. And eventually in 1998, I was already a faculty member here at Missouri State. I got a grant, and I went back to the Rio Conchos and took water samples and analyzed the samples and published a paper in 1999. So the main findings on the papers were, you know, the first reporting on the concentrations of something like salinity, and also before that, it was believed that the river brought a lot of arsenic to the Rio Grande. And I found out there was no arsenic in the Rio Conchos, zero arsenic. The arsenic is in the groundwater, not in the surface water. And I also found out that the river by the Luis Leon Dam crosses a deposit of gypsum. It's a natural deposit. And the water gets cleaned after it goes through the gypsum and exchanges sodium for calcium. So actually all the bad name for the Conchos was, I had no justification. And after that, then there were some other studies on the water quality, but there's not too much on water quality studies. There is need for more. And I think you all relate to that, you know, to having very few data to work with. Okay, so I think that's in a nutshell what my connection is.
David, do you wanna take over that same question and introduce the work that you have done related to water management and modeling in the border?
Sure. I can be real quick about it. I've been involved in 3 different exercises about the Conchos. First, let me make the point that the Conchos really is the Rio Grande. Okay, once you get below Fort Quitman, that's really it. Although there are other sources, it's most of the river. And so in effect, both quantity and quality, you're really, all management of the river is really driven by the Conchos. I've been involved with 3 different sets of models, or 2 different sets of models and 1 additional project. I worked with students to develop a water quantity management model for the Rio Grande. And this was as part of a project working with Israelis and Palestinians. The idea was to develop a water allocation model that Israelis and Palestinians who are coming to Texas for training on how to handle bilateral water issues could work with Mexican and US citizens to work on the Rio Bravo, Rio Grande, and try to get some insight to their issues by working on the Rio Grande, Rio Bravo. And so we had the model operating, and they were able to do a series of negotiations for management of the river based upon a water quantity model that was used. The second project I've worked on is with one of the people who's listening and who developed it, and that's Dr. Roger Miranda. Hey, Roger. And that is a water quality model. While it's not going all the way up to the Conchos, it is going from the Falcon down to the coast. But to a large degree, the quality issues that flow out of the Conchos affect the lower Rio Grande, Rio Bravo. And so Roger's water quality model has been involved with US and Mexico water discussions for many years as we try to improve water quality along the lower Rio Grande, Rio Bravo. The third piece I've done is I've done a series of focus groups on what can be done to improve water quality all along the river. And part of that had to do with the Conchos identifying particular investments that could be accomplished to improve water quality. And so those are the three exercises I've been involved with respect to the Conchos. Over.
Thank you, Dave. Someone, do we have Victor on? Was he able to connect?
I think I just sent him the information through, so if he can join over the phone,
Okay.
but we'll see.
Okay.
I think, yeah, let's
Okay.
move forward.
We'll keep moving. We'll keep moving. We'll have him later.
Mhm.
So let me, if it's okay with you, Sam, to continue on. Okay. Okay. Let me move forward with the second question. And here I want to get a little bit to the details and of the Rio Conchos. What is the significance of the Rio Conchos related to three most important things? One, the environment of the basin, the society, which is basically users and stakeholders. And the third is the distribution of water between Mexican users.
Rosario, creo que acaba de entrar Víctor. Just give me a second. Víctor,
Okay.
¿estás ahí? Tienes tu teléfono en mute. Creo que acaba de entrar, es el que entró con el teléfono. Tienes que apretar on mute. Okay, yeah, let's move on. But I think he arrived.
Okay,
Just
we can integrate him at the end of this question. So just let me quickly repeat it. We were talking about the significance of the Rio Conchos related to the environment, related to the society, and the third, which is the most intriguing part, to the distribution of water between Mexican users, because the basin is in Mexico, the Rio Conchos basin is in Mexico, but it also belongs to the Rio Grande basin, which is a binational basin. So what is the significance of this river on the overall binational agenda in terms of water allocation between Mexico and Mexican users and between Mexico and the US? Who wants to start? Melida, do you want to take it a shot?
Yeah.
Hello. Sí.
Oh, there is Victor there.
Hola a todos.
Víctor.
Hola. Adelante, aquí escuchando.
Okay,
Bueno.
Melida, do you want to take over?
Yes.
And then we're gonna
Okay.
get Victor
Hola,
at the end.
Victor.
Yes.
Okay, so about the significance of the Rio Conchos, I come from the city of Delicias, and the significance of the river is like their life. You know, they're really attached to the water and the conchos for growing the crops and making a living. And it's a very young city, the city of Delicias. It was officially recognized as a city only in 1935. So it's from the 30s. It's 86 years old, and it has a population of about 150,000. And I have seen the farmers move on with different type of crops, different type of technology, and different types of ways to do their agriculture, their farming. So at the beginning, it was mainly cotton, and then the cotton was affected by a pest, and they decided to just diversify. Instead of cotton, they started growing different type of crops, such as the major one was jalapeno peppers, but also onions and groundnuts and alfalfa and pecans. And
Melida, can I interrupt you for a minute?
yes.
Can you select on your interpretation icon English and then mute? Have you selected the English language?
No. Okay, there.
And then mute original audio.
in the same part.
Mute. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Okay, so the significance for the region is they use the water for agriculture. The city of Delicias was officially started as a city in 1935. And the government in Mexico just made a call to all the surrounding states, and they were asking farmers to come and populate the irrigated land. The dam was built in 1949. So it's the farmers got there and they started growing first cotton, but cotton got a pest, and then the farmers had no other choice. There was like a big decrease in their economy. They started growing some other crops, and they started experimenting with jalapeno peppers. And they also grew onion and alfalfa and pecans. And then we have recurrent droughts. So then, it was like they have to adapt as very resilient type of people, and they adapt to the weather, they adapt to the policies, they adapt to, ecological things like pests and all that. In the early 2000, like 2000, 2004, there was a drought. There was very severe drought. And a lot of families moved out from the region. So they're surrounded by desert. So if there is something that is really affecting their way of life, what they're going to do is they're going to migrate. So you can imagine where most of those farmers are nowadays. So they move out in 2002, and then where are they? So most of them, they're going to be in Texas. So if we have a policy that affects the Mexican farmers, then you just bring in your problem home. So I think that when you try to help the farmers with a good policy, water policy, and helping each other, then we're helping also in the US. So that's the sustainability type of thing for the region. And I teach a class that is called Water Resources, and I see what these water laws and water policies have done to the border, and is not always pleasant. So I'm glad that people like David are here, and other people that are involved with binational waters, to realize that by helping, Mexican farmers, you're not just helping them, you're helping everyone. You're helping yourselves as well. Okay, so that's the significance that I see for sustainability of water. Okay, I'm done here. David, also yours.
Thank you, Melida. David, do you need me to go over that question again?
No, I'm ready to go, but you
Okay.
could have me be third if you want. So
No,
as you wish.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Conchos really is the Rio Bravo, Rio Grande. So its significance for the environment, society, and the distribution of water, it's absolutely vital. And what we face is basically a hopeless situation that, due to over allocation of water in Chihuahua, and due to climate variability or drought, or however you want to call it, and due to operational management rules within Chihuahua, there is inadequate water for the downstream states of Coahuila and Tamaulipas. And so for the environment, for society, for economic, for agriculture, there is simply insufficient water. And of course, there's insufficient water for Chihuahua as well. So, we had the remarkable equivalent of the attack on the US Congress in Chihuahua this year with the attack on the dam, of local people coming and taking control of the dam because of the issues of water. So the Conchos is vital. The quality of the water coming in the Conchos, in effect, sets the rest of the quality issues downstream. The water availability for agriculture and for domestic use is all tied into the volume of the Conchos. Yes, there are other tributaries on the US and Mexican side, but the Conchos is the largest source. And the distribution of water, we have the very awkward situation that we have rules for the allocation of water, but they do nothing to deal with the real issues of allocating water because they are so vague and non-operational in ways that this was from the 1944 treaty. Humans have learned a lot. We have a lot of binational water treaties that are a whole lot smarter. But because of the language of the treaty, we don't really know what the distribution of water is going to be, except that folks in Chihuahua want to use the water for irrigation purposes. And to a large degree, those are the uses. But so many of the elements, it will, every 5 years, we're going to have pretty much a violation of the treaty allocation. Okay, it's going to happen unless there is a hurricane that saves everybody. But we're going to have that problem because the water's been overallocated and there is more water needs than there is water availability. So I'll stop with that. Over.
And I do have a couple of questions on that, but let's hear what Victor Solis finally got connected. So thank you, Victor. We're happy to have you. We were talking. We introduced you already, so you weren't here, but you were already famous. So
Victor,
the first two questions that we have covered, and that I would probably would ask you at this point, is the significance of the Rio Conchos related to the environment, the society, and the distribution of water Mexican users. Just as Melida and they were talking about, what are your thoughts? What is your experience and your take-home message in terms of the significance of the Rio Conchos to the overall basin?
Víctor, ¿nos puedes escuchar?
Sí, a la orden.
Ok. Creo que estás en el canal general. Está bien. A ver, te hicimos la pregunta número 1 y la pregunta número 2. ¿Podrías empezar con la pregunta número 1, por favor?
Sí. ¿Puedes repetir la pregunta? No la,
sí,
no la
claro que sí. Te la repito. Mira, ¿nos puedes compartir tu experiencia personal acerca del río Conchos? ¿Qué es lo que significa el río Conchos para ti y el trabajo que has hecho en el río Conchos?
Ya, bueno, correcto. No, en el río Conchos tenemos una problemática de descargas de aguas residuales en algunas ciudades importantes, algunas más de 100,000 habitantes y otras comunidades más chicas, comunidades también rurales. Ese sería un problema que fácilmente identificable y que se está resolviendo por parte de las instancias del gobierno que tienen que poner sistemas lagunares o lagunas de oxidación. Esa es una problemática que vemos. La otra es el aprovechamiento indiscriminado de agua, lo cual está quedando con muy poco flujo el río y en realidad todos los ríos tributarios del Conchos, que son que son muchos, desde, como sabemos, desde la Sierra Tarahumara hasta su confluencia con el río Bravo o Río Grande en Ojinaga. Esa problemática está ya muy documentada, está muy a la vista de todos, y esa es lo que representa un gran problema. La otra sería la deforestación de las áreas ribereñas, en donde para su aprovechamiento de la leña y de los árboles que están en las riberas, se está haciendo, yo diría que mal uso de ese recurso.
Todos los que están en el idioma de español, cuando hable Víctor, pónganle on mute el original audio para que lo puedan escuchar en español, porque él está hablando por el canal principal. Entonces ahí van a tener que estar prendiendo y apagando el que dice silenciar canal original. Por favor, denle on mute o de silenciar.
Sí. ¿Cuál es la otra pregunta?
Ok, está bien. Sí, gracias, Víctor. La segunda pregunta es, ¿cuál es el significado del río Conchos relacionado al medio ambiente, la sociedad y la distribución de agua entre usuarios de México y entre usuarios de México y Estados Unidos?
Sí, el aprovechamiento del agua para Chihuahua en los 3 distritos de riego que tenemos en la cuenca, uno con cabecera en Jiménez, otro con cabecera en Delicias y un tercer distrito con cabecera en Ojinaga. El aprovechamiento en esos 3 distritos varía muy cerca del 90% de todo el agua dulce del flujo del río. Ese porcentaje del 90% para agricultura es muy alto, por lo tanto debemos trabajar, es lo que nosotros estamos proponiendo, bajar ese porcentaje de consumo de agua para agricultura, porque no alcanzaría. Claro que se están abriendo más tierras al cultivo y menos estamos alcanzando el agua, porque son muchos de esos cultivos que se están abriendo para nuevos aprovechamientos son de alto consumo de agua, como por ejemplo las hortalizas o también las nogales y también los cultivos de alfalfa. Eso es lo principal que nosotros desde la organización del Conchos estamos vislumbrando.
Gracias, Víctor.
Sí.
Rosario, back to you.
Okay. Victor, can you talk to us a little bit about the significance of the Rio Conchos on the binational agenda and water allocation between Mexico and the U.S. and your thoughts on that?
Víctor, ¿nos puedes hablar acerca del significado o nos puedes repetir la pregunta del significado del río Conchos en la parte de usuarios binacionales o de usos binacionales, agua entre México y Estados Unidos?
Sí. Para Chihuahua es sumamente importante el Conchos porque estamos ubicados en el desierto chihuahuense. Entonces, es importante también para las relaciones binacionales porque estamos con aguas comprometidas por el Acuerdo Internacional de 1944. Entonces representa muy importante para nosotros en Chihuahua por los 3 distritos que ya mencioné y por el compromiso internacional que tenemos con Estados Unidos. A ver si está contestada la pregunta.
Sí, muchas gracias. Rosario, again, back to you.
Okay. On question number 3, and I'm going to get back to Melida and get your thoughts on this. What can you say are the current challenges? I mean, we heard Dave talking about that we are in a hopeless condition right now. I want to talk a little bit about that. And I don't want to leave hopeless today, really. So we know there are issues, and you already mentioned most of them, but what are the opportunities as well in improving? What have we learned that we can actually do, and what are the I guess the hopes that we can expect, or what can we do about it? I mean, basically, what are your
Yeah,
recommendations?
okay. I'm going to just call or answer from my experience. So what I go back to the region of Delicias, where they're growing all these crops. I know there are methods that are more efficient, and I know there are measurements that we can do to check on the sustainability of soils, and like the emissions of nitrous oxide from from the soils, and nitrate leachate from that goes into the aquifer as a contaminant. But so I see that there is a disconnect between science and the farmers. So by trying to break or make this communication a little bit better, the farmers know better what to do and what is happening. And I think as a scientist, that's part of our job, to let people understand our point of view. Because if you come and you just publish, in a highly technical journal, the farmers are not going to ever see that. So I think that by having a better communication with groups such as this group and interdisciplinary groups, that helps a lot. Also by collaborating with local researchers in Chihuahua. So I have a couple of people I collaborate with, and it's very enriching to me to collaborate with them and be involved with them. I don't see like it's me helping them. It's just actually I'm being helped more than I can help them. And we have a lot of techniques and a lot of knowledge about how to make the systems more sustainable. That involves water, that involves agriculture, that involves climate, that involves soils. So if we just try a little bit harder to get this message going. And I think, communication is key. That's it.
Thank you, Melida.
Mhm.
David, do you want to take over that?
Sure. While I said it was hopeless, that is because unless we do something, it will be hopeless. And every 5 years, the US and Mexican governments will be at loggerheads, and the people of Chihuahua will be in opposition and at loggerheads to Mexico City every 5 years. Now, what can be done? There's some very simple things that can be done that would work very nicely. First, it is possible to modify the amount of water that is to be used in Chihuahua if Mexico City would wish to do that, and if Chihuahua would be willing to do it. My understanding is this has been done already once before, so the principle of rethinking it is certainly within the framework of the Mexican Constitution. Okay, so that's one thing that could improve. In other words, you don't want to commit to use annually more water than there is physically in the basin. And that's the current circumstance. There's more demand than there's water available. Okay, so that's one thing. That's pretty hard to do, but could be done. Second is it is possible to improve the way that farming is done through investment. If you could go to drip irrigation in Chihuahua and use a whole lot less water. That's going to take an awful lot of money. But it's certainly possible to modify how farming is done. And that's just a matter, and it's really investment. And if it's worth it to the United States and Texas to be able, and furthermore, it's not just Texas, it's also Coahuila and particularly Tamaulipas and the cities and the farmers of Tamaulipas. If it's worth it, then there can be improvements and investments. Again, this is something that's been tried in Chihuahua, and there were supposed to be water savings, but that sort of disappeared. We don't know whether there's been any water savings, but that's certainly a way in which you could improve yields and yet reduce water consumption. So that's a possibility if people want to. Third element is it's possible to modify the rules of the treaty. Okay, right now, the rules of the treaty, while they were brilliant in 1944, they really do not address the priority of use in an operational way. They have a list of uses, but that list of uses is not operational in terms of structure and use. The release priority for the release for the treaty is not there. And also the treaty requirements are in such a vague way, that is every 5 years, that look, the only way we've been able to get out of it in the last few years is having trade of water in reservoirs and hoping for heavy rains in a hurricane. So all those things are possible in the Israeli-Palestinian bilateral agreement, in the India-Bangladesh agreements. The countries have been able to develop operational rules of water allocation on an annual basis with trigger limits and with priorities that have worked. So those are things that are possible. So yes, there is a way out, but right now there is not. And right now we will have conflict every 5 years. And in Mexico, there'll be conflict every year. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's something that we could address as we are entering a new 5-year agreement. And we have a new regime in Washington that would be willing to invest if we could develop operational trades that would work. And Mario Lopez is here. He can talk about this from a Mexican perspective. I will be delighted to be told how mistaken I am. Thank you. Over.
Well, now that you mention it, he just posted a comment here. Mario, if you're interested in making your comment live here to everyone.
If you have no issues listening to me, I'd be very willing to do that.
You're muted.
No, I'm not muted.
We can't hear you.
No, lo que pasa es que estás en el canal original.
Yeah, you have to go
Vete
to
a
the
Interpretation
English.
Y luego vete a inglés.
Okay.
Víctor, ahorita después
Now
del
you can
comentario
hear
de
me?
Mario.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sí.
Well, as Dr. Eaton have said, Mexico has done many things. Investment in irrigation, trying to reduce the agricultural areas in Chihuahua, in Tamaulipas. The question is, why this has not been happening since then on a regular basis? So my point is, because it is an incomplete approach. Something is missing. And what is missing is governance. If CONAGUA does not apply the law, does not apply. And the second question to this is, why CONAGUA is not doing this? And this takes us to another point. It is a matter of resources, a matter of human resources, a matter of anything else. My point is, CONAGUA, as a big institution as it is, has no any possibility to look after all the water uses in the country. How can this be approached in a better way? We need to work with the farmers. the governments should be from there, start from there. But first they should be sensible, understanding that the water, as Dr. Eaton said, it has a limit. And they need to reduce, but with willingness. If you see, as you said, in 1944, the agricultural area was not as today. In cycle 25, 26, and 27, when we had this huge problem with the US, the area was not as today. Today, we have more agricultural area compared to that time. This is the issue. The agricultural area keeps growing. It is not the point if you say Mexico has the money to invest and put drip irrigation all over the place, all over the Conchos, all over the whole Rio Bravo basin on the Mexican side. This is not the solution. Why? Because more agricultural area will be opened.
Yeah.
So it is a point of no return. What should be the limit? The limit should be the thinking of the farmers that there is not so much water, and they should be aware of that, and they should be willing to reduce themselves and to manage and to auto-control themselves. Yes, automatization, drip irrigation is helpful, but it is the incomplete part. It should be matched together with auto-governance. Conagua has not the possibility to control all of them. It is a fact. That's my point.
Thanks, Mario. Let me just.
Thank you, Mario.
Yeah, let me just go back with Víctor. Víctor, ¿me escuchas?
Sí, adelante.
Vamos con la pregunta 3, que es, ¿cuáles son los retos actuales y las oportunidades para mejorar la gestión del agua en el río Conchos?
Sí, bueno, los retos son de tener la apertura de tierras al cultivo, ya que no tenemos flujo suficiente, no tenemos disponibilidad. Eso sería uno de los retos. De las oportunidades son de que pudiéramos disponer de agua más clara para el ecosistema del río, si tuviéramos plantas de tratamiento y no tantos insecticidas y fertilizantes que se aplican a los cultivos. Yo creo que con estas dos observaciones que yo comento, tendríamos parcialmente controlada el flujo del agua, por lo menos en un corto plazo pudiera ser.
Gracias.
Sí.
Sam, do you want me to take over the questions? We have a couple.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a comments on the chat that you can all look for, and we want to keep the discussion. So let me throw a question here for all of you guys. This is from Vanessa Escobar. Hi, Vanessa. To David. And this is a question. Is there any hope or potential viability for demand reductions to reduce demands from agricultural sector? Something along the lines of managed groundwater depletion policies? Or do you envision inevitable mining and overdraft of the aquifers?
Well, one can conserve water in many ways, both surface water and groundwater. It doesn't just have to be Mexico that is providing money for the farmers in Chihuahua. I'm happy for the United States to contribute a lot. If we could get a trade for some security and reliability of supply for downstream, for Tamaulipas and for Texas. So it's not a question of where the money is. But yes, I think look, we could use the water of the Conchos for urban uses and have the wastewater used for irrigation, as is done in other countries. We can be much more efficient of how we irrigate. And indeed, I think that the point that there should be some limit on the irrigable area, that is a very powerful point. Okay, that would make a tremendous difference. That Mario, I just don't want to say that Conagua can't manage anything. That's not for me to say. You could get away with saying it, I can't. So, yes, there are lots of possibilities. These are things that are done in other areas. So yes, we have to be creative to enable people to continue, but there are these structural problems in effect that there is no control right now.
Now, the other question here that it's kind of in the conversation here in the chat and what you've been telling is the role of science here. And another point that Melida mentioned, the communication part. So it seems to be this connection, and we tend to see all those issues when it comes to water, right? And especially when it comes to groundwater, and then when it comes to something bigger as a binational basin, the science behind what is the role of science, and therefore how do you communicate that science to different stakeholders here? Because not just it's not just the information, it's not just that the farmers can access or understand what Melia was mentioning, a highly technical paper. How do you translate that, and what are the strategies to reach to these people to understand that there's a limit, right? There's a limit, and we don't seem to understand that very clearly in terms of, especially if you're relying on groundwater. Which it is the case too on that basin. So what are your thoughts on this? How can we do this better? I mean, what are the recommendations? How can we use science better? Because you've done a lot of science, Dave, personally, and Melida as well, and Victor as well. So how do we translate that into something useful? How do we convert that into something that, makes sense to the stakeholders?
Well, Rosario, I have to leave in 2 minutes to teach a class.
I know.
So I will answer in 2 minutes flat. You're absolutely right. It is possible to develop a conjunctive use quantity quality model, if we wish, and make the assumptions transparent, make it something that is adopted officially as legal by Mexico, have IMTA and Conagua involved, where people could play a game. The farmers could play a game, see how to manage the river, but with realistic things. So they see that they're going to get into trouble every 5 years unless things are managed differently. That kind of operational teaching model has been used. That's the stuff we use with the Israelis and Palestinians. It is a very powerful teaching tool for people to control themselves and figure out how to do things. So that's my advice, is to help people see the implications of their own decisions and have them be able to make decisions for themselves in their own interest if they want to be sustainable. Over. And I better go to class. So thank you.
Thank you, David. We say goodbye for now,
Okay.
but this conversation is not over. I'm sure we're going to get back. So thank you for joining us. And we're going to stay here with the rest of our speakers if you want to join later.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Yeah, I would like to answer that question as well.
Please.
So I think like something like this is a good step, and we have to improve the communication, because if the authorities, CONAGUA and the IMTA, they get together and they get their agreements, but that information doesn't reach the farmers. So it needs to be a little bit more, probably, with everyone with their own discipline, just trying to reach out a little bit and, you know, present at some conference where these people might be present. And for example, the farmers in the Licias, they have different events yearly. So there is going to be one for, you know, a farmer event. They bring experts from the US and other countries to talk. It would be great if these models would be presented there. And I think there is still an opportunity to make a change and to make things better. You know, just showing them some of the facts.
So quickly, because I want to give the Sam the opportunity to get in and discuss, but do you think there is ignorance on the side, on the farmer side about the problems in the basin, or is just that
Yes,
they
yes,
just
there
don't
is.
want to
I
change
see.
their habits?
I see ignorance from the farmer side. I see ignorance in Conagua that doesn't know exactly how to deal with things. I see ignorance from the American side. They don't try to understand. So ignorance is all over. So we need to improve communication, and we need to start asking these very basic questions, you know, and the scientists, you know, should be able to communicate with a non-science and non-scientist and try to work for a common good, you know, common benefit for people.
Víctor,
Victor, do you want to talk about
hay
this?
una
Do
parte
you
de
have
la
any-
pregunta
oh.
en la cual están diciendo, cómo hacer un puente entre la ciencia y los tomadores de decisión, que ha habido un poco de ignorancia de todas las partes acerca de la comunicación de ciencia. Y aquí la pregunta es, ¿cómo mejorar? ¿Tú qué recomendarías para que se mejore de forma sustancial pues la gestión del agua en el Conchos? No sé, reducciones en la demanda, manejo de agua subterránea. ¿Qué es lo que tú recomendarías entre este puente entre ciencia y tomadores de decisiones? ¿Existe o no existe?
Sí, existe la posibilidad de un acuerdo entre los altos consumidores de agua, que son los agricultores. Podemos hacer mesas de trabajo por separado, porque se están haciendo mesas generales con los productores de Conagua, y eso es lo que ha resultado inútil. Por eso se vinieron los conflictos de más recientes de junio y julio. Entonces ahí como que el entendimiento entre las partes se pierde. Entonces sugiero, sí se puede hacer como tú me preguntas, sí se puede, pero necesitamos hacerlo por módulos o también por distritos de riego o por regiones. Cualquiera de las tres opciones pudiera funcionar según mi punto de vista.
Oye, y Mélida comenta también que, o sea, existe como estos silos de información o estas islas de información donde la Conagua solamente se comunica con ciertas personas y no los agricultores. ¿Tú también ves esto?
Sí, coincido con ella, porque ahí es donde está el punto de quiebre, se puede decir, porque los representantes de los agricultores han perdido credibilidad con los demás agricultores. Entonces, pudiera ser que fueran otros representantes, porque no han podido llegar a los acuerdos ellos dos, o sea, los representantes de los agricultores y los representantes de Conagua. Entonces tendríamos que buscar otros representantes que sean más accesibles a la toma de decisiones. Over.
Okay. Gracias, Víctor. Rosario.
Pues nada.
Talking about communication here, we have a couple of questions and a lot of comments. I honestly recommend you to read them. They're very good. I can't read them all, but this is a question. What is the current communication structure from Kelly Holiday, by the way? Hi, Kelly. Kerry, I'm sorry, Kelly. Kerry. What is the current communication structure or system as it relates to farmers in Chihuahua? It is sounding a lot like there's a one-direction communication, like researchers or politicians telling the farmers what to do right now. I know that these events are an effort to creating a two-way communication about the issue, but is there a way to grow two-way communication that involves the farmers so they can feel like they have an equal voice?
Okay, I would like to answer that. I think there is always hope. And our hope is that we can somehow develop, by having good intention, this communication going and let the farmers know how important all those issues are. And right now, the farmers feel they're not being heard. They, the authorities don't explain things very well to them. They just tell them, this is what you have to do, but not why, or things, what has changed from the previous cycle. So I definitely think communication could be a lot better. How? Well, it's up to, I guess, to us and to a lot of people to figure out how can we improve this communication and get everyone on the same page. What David showed was, a reaction to the farmers about taking by the force one of the last reservoir. And you have to also hear the other side, right? Like in everything. So we need to hear both sides to actually get a feeling of what is the problem. And I think the problem is mainly lack of communication.
I was about to say there is a very good question from Carmen Julia. Let me I will translate it and then ask to Victor on the other one. So I would like to ask if the root of the problem of this problematic is it really that we are distributing more water that it actually exists, or the origin of the problem is how we're estimating the water availability that we can distribute. Let me just go with Victor here. Víctor, ¿me escuchas?
Sí, adelante.
Dice, esta es una pregunta de Carmen Julia. Dice, yo quisiera preguntar si el problema de origen es que se reparte más que la disponibilidad que existe del recurso hídrico, o que el método que estamos estimando la disponibilidad para repartir. O sea, que existe más agua o nos estamos equivocando en el método. Perdón, existe menos agua o nos estamos equivocando en el método.
Bueno, yo creo que nos estamos equivocando en el método porque no tenemos más agua para concesionar. La cuenca del río Conchos sabemos que está sobreconcesionada. O sea, hay más concesiones del agua que pudiéramos tener para disponibilidad. Así es que eso se tiene que revisar. Se ha dicho en las mesas de trabajo muchas veces, y es donde ya no estamos dejando el flujo del agua que hemos perdido durante los últimos años. Samuel.
Gracias.
Sam, there's a comment here, interesting comment, and I wanted to share with all of you from my colleague, Alfonso.
Rosario, te pusiste en mute. Rosario, you're on mute.
Sorry, perdón. I wanted to share a comment here from Alfonso Cortez that is really interesting. I'm going to change here. It is in Spanish, so I'm going to change my channel to Spanish right now just to quickly do it in Spanish. Es de Alfonso Cortés. 2 puntos. Creo que desde luego la problemática de la cuenca del Conchos Bravo Grande es de gobernanza, pero no unilateral, sino transfronteriza, ya que la gestión binacional, buena o mala, repercute en lo local a ambos lados de la frontera. Eso me parece muy interesante porque no lo hemos abordado del todo. Y sí me gustaría que lo pudiéramos abordar. Poco se ha mencionado respecto a la falta de conceptualización del término de sequía extraordinaria, como viene en el tratado. Y bueno, hace referencia a lo que mencionó el doctor Eaton, que ya se tuvo que irse a dar clase, pero cuáles serían las modificaciones necesarias a las reglas del tratado, a las que él mencionaba, si ustedes quieren comentar sobre eso, y sobre las inversiones necesarias para Chihuahua y sus distritos de riego. Y bueno, el resto del comentario está ahí en el chat, que es un comentario largo, pero sí me gustaría que pudiéramos abordar la pregunta de, no es una, pareciera que es un problema, el origen del problema es la administración de agua en el lado mexicano. Pero es cierto que también tiene implicaciones la responsabilidad binacional. Entonces, ¿cuál es el papel que juega el carácter binacional en la cuenca y cómo eso afecta en lo local, por ejemplo, al río Conchos y a sus usuarios? Lo dejaría. Mélida, perdón, ¿quieres abordar esa pregunta o comentario?
Yes, I am completely in agreement with those comments. The farmers see their neighbor just like growing pecan trees and making a lot of money. Of course, they want to do that, and they do it, and there is no, how you say, they don't know why that is wrong. So Conagua is allowing for more usage of water, in more wells. And there is a lack of governance in there, like a farmer, some of them are very rich, like there are some in Texas as well. And they say, well, I want a new well. They don't even ask for permission. They go and drill their well. And Conagua doesn't have the resources to go and check or to go and impose fines or things like that. So we need to really bring those models to the farmers and let them know what happens when you don't take care of the water in the aquifer. And then they need to be convinced instead of just being regulated by an office that has no power actually to go and regulate all the farmers in the state. So that's just my point of view, and I might be wrong because I'm not a farmer, but I think that there is a big need of these, showing these models, because the models are visual representation of some different scenarios. And if someone can show, well, if I have so much land and I irrigate putting this is going to be the decline of the aquifer. Then it's like everyone will understand that. But so far, it has been very little of that. And those are technical, and they're going to be in some websites, but the farmers are not going to see that unless we take those directly to the farmer and show that to them. And there is a way to do that. There is a very easy way. We have like researchers on both sides of the border. We can invite each other and things like that.
Víctor, este es un comentario.
Victor, do you want to comment on that?
Dice, es Alfonso Cortés. Dice, creo que desde luego la problemática de la cuenca del Conchos, Bravo Grande, es de gobernanza, pero no unilateral, sino transfronteriza, y que la gestión binacional, buena o mala, repercute tanto en lo local como en ambos lados de la frontera. Y que ¿estás de acuerdo que también esto sea un problema de gobernanza, el problema del agua en el Concho sea un problema de gobernanza o no?
Sí, estoy de acuerdo. Gobernanza es la palabra que involucra tanto a los productores o a los usuarios y también al gobierno. Así es que es un problema de gobernanza en Estados Unidos y también en México. Yo considero que, como yo conozco más el Concho, no conozco bien el Peco, ni los otros ríos, ni el Bravo arriba, puedo hablar por el Conchos diciendo que es problema de gobernanza. Entonces, si es problema de gobernanza, tenemos que entrarle a ese tema, no nada más cuando está la problemática a su máxima expresión, como fue en estos meses de estiaje, en donde se pusieron los problemas muy tensos al grado de que hubo hasta muertos en la región por ese problema. Por lo tanto, debemos prever si queremos tener una solución pacífica y en el futuro. Eso es lo que yo puedo opinar.
Sí, Víctor, muchas gracias. Y eso es algo que también habló esta Mélida. Ahí coincide con eso. Rosario.
Sí.
Gracias, Sam. Thank you. I'm sorry. I mixed up Spanish here. I don't know where am I anymore. So thank you everyone for your comments and we still have a lot of comments and questions here. I'm going to give it one last question to Jose Luis Castro and one last comment from all of you. We still have a couple of minutes because we have a survey that we want you to answer pretty quickly. But let me just go over quickly, Sam, to talk about farmers in Chihuahua in a general way, but what is the economic structure of them? Maybe this may be an indicator of the behavior of Conagua, communicating only with some farmers. It seems that there are powerful groups of farmers who have more weight in the decisions concerning water distribution. How is it possible to ask these groups to come into census?
Okay, I'll just say a little bit. I don't know very much exactly how they are organized, but they don't make decisions about water distribution because Conagua makes the decisions. Conagua is going to tell them how much water they have. And then of course, the ones that are more powerful, they have more money, they have the deeper wells, and they're going to, just kind of do their own thing. And the small farmers are the ones that are going to be suffering. However, it's just one aquifer for everyone. And that's what, again, that's for me, how we can ask these groups to come into census is by showing them some information about sustainability of aquifers. And, so that they know that it's not, their water is not there just for the rich, but actually is for everyone, and they all share the same aquifer. So I would approach them that way. And, they're successful farmers or rich farmers are intelligent people as well. So they're going to, understand if you present that with some, some good arguments.
Any other comment from anyone before we go to final to wrap up the event? We're good. If you
No.
want to follow up the questions, we will post some of those questions and comments on the blog. If you want to follow us there, we can continue the discussion. This is not over, apparently. We can keep going on and on. And
One
I
thing,
just want to wrap up pretty quickly on some of your highlights. These are just highlights of today's discussion. And I like this one. The Rio Conchos is the Rio Bravo, at least in the lower portion of it. We have operational management challenges. We have vague rules. We have an over-allocation basing. And we have problems of communication, and not just communication of in a simple way, but we also are missing the translation of our science into the locals, which is a more advanced type of miscommunication, right? That we're missing. What can be done? There are a couple of things mentioned. Modify the amount of water used. The amount of water that is being used has to be reduced. How? It can be done in different ways. Ideally, not expanding the agricultural frontier, because that's just a long-term same problem. We're still pending the rules of the treaty. Should they be modified or not? At what extent? Is it possible, feasible in the future to do that? We need to look the efficiency from a holistic perspective, not just in irrigation efficiency, but more on conservation of water, right? We have problems of ignorance, of course. We have problems of communication, and we have problems everywhere. Apparently, this is not unique, and this is why we like this case, and this is why we probably come back to this point, to this basing, because it's really a case study, not just for us, for US and Mexico, but in other parts of the world. And that's the reason they are coming here, people from other regions, to study how do we deal with water allocation between Mexico and the US. I don't know what they are trying to learn. I'm sure there are things that we can learn from us as well, but I'm sure that there are much more things that we should be doing too, in order to improve not just the water use and the water sustainability of the basin, but basically national security. Because last year it was a problem, national security. It ended up something like that. So that's the big question.
Rosario, a couple of things. So one is what you're mentioning. This is not the last webinar or coffee break for the Rio Conchos. So we're going to continue on this one. I think it will be good. It's good to try to reduce the ignorance on that one, or get to people more exploring the Rio Conchos. So that's one thing. The second thing that it also inspired me to invite Victor and Melida. So it doesn't look like that, but yeah, this is a book that actually it was published by Victor, Rio Conchos, Causa de Vida. And it is also a book that it was one of the chapters is of Melida. So I think it's a very good book. I truly enjoy it. It has outstanding pictures and the content. So that's one thing. As we are kind of also doing some trying to fine tune a lot of the things that we're doing related to this audience, we would like to send you a survey. And the survey is for you to know how much are you looking some of the products that we are producing, so we can do a better job to meet your needs. So yeah.
The links are there. The links are there. It will take you just 1 minute to people that are still connected, if you don't mind, to go to the chat, and it's right there. One in English and one in Spanish if you need to. Just click on any of those and please fill it out. It's just a couple of questions. We figure that it's easier for you to do these kind of things while we have you here trapped with us. We can get all this information at once.
Yeah.
And this is really helpful for us because it gives us information on how to move forward with these things and with these events and what are we trying to do this year, which is more stuff like this, because this is what we need. Every time that we end up a coffee break or a science talk or any kind of events, we end up with my kid talking right now. So I'm sorry about that. And we figure that we need more of this, right? And we need more time for this, and we need to keep going with this.
That's okay. I think it is part of the new reality. I think children, our furry pets, and everything. It's part of what is right now. I know. Hey, one thing, and I would like to. Man, today we jump a lot of hiccups to bring Victor here. Sorry for the hiccups, but I think we were able to manage them. The other thing that I do want to mention is we're keeping these events open. It really sometimes for us is kind of scary to have any Zoom bombers and so on, but we do want it to have it open so all of you can participate. Anyway, I think we might be wrapping up. Just in advance, Melida, David Eaton that just left, Victor, muchas gracias.
Yeah,
Victor,
thank
muchas
you.
gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for being here today. We hope to see you next month. We surely will have something next month, as we always do. If you have any questions, please send it to you.
One other thing before everyone goes. Sorry, and because I saw Carmen Julia and other people. If you also would like to recommend a specific topic or a specific event, do let us know. So really, this is a two-way conversation. If you have a specific topic that you think that it might be good to bring it up, some people have already sent us some of those. So please do let us know so we can start putting it on the calendar. And thanks everyone. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's great to
que
see
sí,
you.
feliz año.
Even though it's just by computer, it's always great to see you all, guys. And we really hope to do one of this someday in person.
Feliz año, Carmen Julia. Happy New Year to everyone.
Saludos a
Gusto en
todos.
verlos.
Thank you, Mario.
Mario, muchas gracias.
Always pleasure to have you.